Weeks ago, a jury found a New Haven woman not guilty of killing her husband in August of 2023.
Today, we sat down with her defense attorneys and the prosecutors on the case. 21 Alive reporter Eddie Rexedler has the story.
It's a weird feeling. Normally, you're super elated and happy, and I am, but I'm also angry that this charge was filed and that I think it was carelessly filed.
Attorneys Andy Baldwin and Max Wiley represented Allison Davis as she was charged with murder in the 2023 death of her husband, Kevin Davis. The verdict, not guilty.
It's rare that we have a client that we truly believe is innocent. We handle a lot of cases. All we do is represent people accused of crimes. And it's rare when it's true innocence, where they've got the wrong person.
It started with a 911 call. Davis reported waking up to a loud thud and finding her husband in a pool of his own blood.
Walk me through the version of events that you guys have been able to present to the jury.
Certainly. It was an accident. Kevin fell down the stairs. He was heavily intoxicated, and he suffered the injury to his skull through striking the banister at the bottom of their stairs. And that's what accounts for his injuries, and that's what happened.
But investigators were quick to rule Kevin's death as a homicide, and Allison, the main suspect. Baldwin and Wiley say those theories relied on false information.
The issue, as I see it, is they went back 4 days later, and then there was still blood there, but it was after the paramedics had been through, it was after the house had been cleaned, and they treated this blood that was there 4 days later as though it had to have come from 4 days earlier, from Kevin Davis's death. And there was evidence that showed there was blood 4 days later that just was not in those same places on August 12th, on the night things occurred.
That evidence, Wiley says, is body camera footage, which Baldwin believes wasn't given enough attention by the prosecution.
We had a lot of staff and looking at the body-worn camera over and over and over again, because this is a murder trial, and a woman is accused of murder. And you better be looking at the video, and you better look at it frame by frame, and you better figure out, was the blood there or wasn't there? Because my expert's going to be making an opinion on that. And apparently that didn't happen. And that woman our client Allison Davis sat in jail then for whatever, a year and a half.
Throughout the investigation, they came across what they called undeniable exonerating evidence, a smartwatch that Allison had on.
The police figured that out, and they went out and they got a search warrant for the data directly from the Garmin Corporation.
The defense also got a hold of this data. They say they sent it to an expert at Purdue Fort Wayne to interpret.
And what that data showed is that Allison was telling the truth. The data, they have minute-by-minute data of her heart rate, her respiration, her step count, and the data completely corroborated what Allison said happened.
After consideration, Judge Fran Gohl wrote to dismiss the data as evidence. Prosecutor Tessa Helge explained.
Garmin itself on its website has a disclaimer stating you should not rely on this for medical certainty.
Despite that, there were still missing pieces for the prosecution's case.
I think if we had located a murder weapon, that would have been huge. I think that's probably the biggest thing if we could have pointed to something specifically.
It came down to proving to the jury that Kevin's injuries were sustained from the fall. The defense reached out to forensic neuropathologist Dr. Dragovich.
He was the first forensic neuropathologist to be involved in the case, and we really think that's important because he's a specialist in brain and skull injuries. And that's ultimately what killed Kevin.
When they were asking him, so there's 3 doctors that say this is multiple strikes to Kevin's head, and you're the only one saying it was just one strike hitting a banister. Is that right? And he said, yeah, and I'm the one that's right. And when he said it, you believed it.
That testimony, they believe, was key in proving Allison's innocence.
I don't think anybody set out to try to get a wrongful conviction by any means. But I think they just had reached this conclusion that Allison Davis had to be guilty of murder, and they were going with it, and they didn't stop to reevaluate their case, and they didn't stop to look at some evidence that showed she did not do it.
Now with the case in the rear view,
Max and I would, even during the trial, would say, why are we doing this? Why do we do this? That's what we would say. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? And when Allison walked out of that jail, that's why we do this.
Eddie Rexedler, 21 Alive News.